How can one stay rooted while going through a spiritual awakening or when they're experiencing the dark night of the soul? Now, these are two very common spiritual concepts that are talked about a lot in the spiritual space, and a lot of people even mix these two concepts for each other. They are two completely different experiences that one goes through. So I just want to start with first clarifying what a spiritual awakening is and what dark night of the soul is. So a spiritual awakening is when your spirit awakens. We are a personality with a physical body, and above that we have a soul, and then we have a spirit. When our spirit awakens, we realize that the reality of life that we are living is not something that is the truth. It is a false perception of our own illusions that are created through, all the wrong habits and wrong energy that we were feeding inside ourselves. So a spiritual awakening is a process when you suddenly, based on how old you are or certain life events that can trigger a spiritual awakening, or maybe it could be negative experiences or even a positive experiences, but this is when your spirit awakens and there is a change that is needed. Sometimes a dark night of the soul could trigger a spiritual awakening. So a dark night of the soul is when you have completely lost the connection to your soul, which means if we see the soul as a brighter, higher illuminated light and the ego as the lower aspect of ourselves. So the ego, let's say, is a darker color and the soul is a whiter and a brighter color like the sun. When we experience the dark night of the soul, which means that there is no light coming from the soul into our personality, which means we feel darkness, sometimes it mimics clinical depression as well. We have a crisis in life. Why am I alive? What is the purpose of life? Why is everything so bad? Why do wrong things happen to me? Why do I keep on repeating the same patterns in life, which keeps on getting me into these situations I'm trapped in all the time? Dark night of the soul is a process, is an experience where you feel very low. You feel like nobody understands you. You feel gloomy, A lot of health problems can arise when you are going through the dark night of the soul, Sometimes people can be diagnosed with cancer. Sometimes they can be diagnosed with a chronic health condition. Maybe somebody who's very close to you, they die, and, you experience the dark night of the soul after that. You experience that, what is the point of all this? Why is life like this? Sometimes even your financial karma can be accelerated and you go bankrupt, or you lose a lot of money in the stock market or in your business, or maybe you lose your job and suddenly you have to take care of a family and you are again under pressure. These are just some of the examples that can trigger the dark night of the soul. Now, a spiritual awakening can happen as a result of the dark night of the soul, which means the spirit awakens that, hey, I gotta do something about changing my ways. I gotta take control and take charge of my life to change the way I have been living. Or sometimes a spiritual awakening can lead to certain experiences, and later on, maybe after 1 or 2 years, it can trigger a dark night of the soul as well. So there's no right or wrong of what comes first, what comes later. But yes, one of the common elements that binds both of them together is that your perception towards how you view things changes. This means that in each of these experiences, you want to move away from this superficiality of life, the drama, the mundane things, the gossip, or, we call it the Moh-Maya, in Sanskrit. In Hindu scriptures, we call it the Moh-Maya, the illusions of the mind, the glamour of the world, or the Maya and the bad habits of the body. They're not serving you anymore. So which is triggering all of these problems, which is making you feel ungrounded. It is not making you feel rooted. And your spirit, your soul is like, knock, 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 change your ways now. Otherwise something is going to go wrong even more. There's going to be like a disaster. It's like a crisis. And when your spirit slowly starts to awaken, your spirit, which is the higher, light, becomes the guiding force for you, to guide you into the right steps, the next steps for your life on how you can overcome the dark night of the soul. Or even if you are not experiencing the dark night of the soul and you go through a spiritual awakening, sometimes it's asking you and giving you direction on how you can progress to the next steps of your life. you suddenly feel like you are an observer who is living your life. When your spirit awakens, you feel like you are not part of all of this drama that is happening. You are away from it. You want to work on your personal development. You want to work on your healing. You are looking for reading spiritual books. You want to have a spiritual teacher to guide you, because a lot of this phenomena of a spiritual awakening sometimes also lies beyond the comprehension of a lot of medical doctors or a lot of intellectual thought leaders out there. So this is something, when you're looking for a purpose, you're looking to add even greater meaning in your life, or if you're already on a spiritual purpose, a spiritual awakening can also push you into a greater and a bigger purpose on how you can expand your current purpose even more, which means you can realize your even higher potential by going an even further step ahead in your life. So all of these experiences can happen multiple times in our lives. While these experiences are very challenging, but yes, if you have the right spiritual mentor by your side to help you guide you through each and every step, and you also work with a good energy medicine specialist who keeps on releasing and healing a lot of the karma from your past that is purging and accelerating at this time when you're going through these experiences, a lot of your painful experiences can be neutralized. So whatever you're going through at that time, it will all still happen, but the struggle and the suffering that you experience through these challenges will be much less. Similarly, when you're going through a spiritual awakening and you again need direction, you need a purpose, you need guidance, you need support. Again, if you have a spiritual mentor by your side who has the capacity to look at your problems like a pilot's view, like a pilot overviewing a city, rather than a consultant whose approach is only looking at one thing. It's more like a tunnel vision, I call it. So when you have somebody like that by your side, your suffering can be greatly reduced and you can progress much faster in your healing journey. I always advise everyone to see spiritual challenges as opportunities for growth. This is something that you should not run away from, because always remember that whatever you don't heal will keep on repeating in your life in different ways until you heal it and you move on. Do not run away from pain. Do not run away from challenges. Embrace them and find the right tools, support, guidance to help you in navigating them and overcoming them. And I promise you, you will come out as more evolved culture, human being on the other side with more successes in your life.